Today, we enter the universe of Gabriel García Márquez, the Nobel laureate and magical master of literature who transports us to the heat of Colombia, the gloom of banana plantations, and a world where miracles are whispered around every corner. Márquez's works are not just about plot. They invite the reader into a stream of consciousness where reality and fantasy coexist, shoulder to shoulder. This is a place where scientists are astonished by the magical mirrors brought by gypsies, and wise women, over 100 years old, silently observe events unfold. Our analysis today will focus on three main pillars that envelop Márquez's entire body of work: solitude, the cyclical nature of fate, and the artistic form that carries these two themes: magical realism. So, what is that spirit of Macondo that emerges when the political history of Latin America, personal tragedies and ghosts come together? If you're ready, let's begin witnessing the solitude of the Buendia family. Magical realism is not fantasy literature. Fantasy requires both the character and the reader to be astonished by the extraordinary event. Magical realism, however, presents even the most absurd event as an ordinary reality, and the characters are not surprised by it. For Márquez, magical realism is the very essence of Latin American life, history, and belief systems. In this geography, miracles are a natural part of daily life. Key example: Remedios, the beauty. In 100 Years of Solitude, when Remedios, who is so beautiful that men die for her, ascends to heaven and disappears with the help of a sheet, the other characters accept the event merely as a natural phenomenon. No one asks, "How did it happen?" They only think, "I hope the sheets in the laundry basket come back." This is the zenith of magical realism. The real and the supernatural are accepted on the same level, within the same sentence. This technique gives Márquez the power to narrate the pains, exiles, and wars of Latin American history in an emotional and mythical language, bypassing the filter of logic. Márquez's grandest theme is the non-linear nature of time. Especially in 100 Years of Solitude, time does not progress. It cyclically repeats itself. For 100 years, the Buendia family repeats the same fate, the same mistakes, and most importantly, the same names. Key example: Aureliano and José Arcadio. The constant naming of the male members of the family as Aureliano, fond of books, art, and war, solitary, and José Arcadio, fond of adventure, bodily pleasures, and impulses, creates a duality motif. Each generation inherits the tragedies and failures of the previous one. The family cannot escape this vicious cycle of self-repetition. Repetition of time, everyone's solitude, Macondo's foundation, its peak, and its eventual decay, all occur within the same cycle. Fate. A curse is placed upon the family by the founder, José Arcadio Buendia. Those who do not learn, those who do not take lessons, are condemned to solitude. Márquez here merges individual fate with the fate of Latin American history. Repeated coups, constantly shifting political unrest, and instability that never truly arrives. This cycle is fed by the characters forgetting, or trying to forget, the past. The loss of memory is the greatest tragedy that forces them to make the same mistakes. Solitude is an emotion that Márquez views not merely as a theme, but as a way of life. This solitude is not just a curse belonging to the Buendias in Macondo, but a metaphysical state that encompasses all of Latin America. Existential solitude. The characters in 100 Years of Solitude cannot connect, even within a large family. Colonel Aureliano Buendia's participation in 32 wars, losing 32 times, and then returning home to make little goldfish alone in his workshop, symbolizes the existential solitude resulting from action and disillusionment. The solitude of love. Love in the Time of Cholera is the story of Florentino Ariza, who waits for 51 years, 9 months, and 4 days, searching for an antidote to solitude. This love saga is Márquez's way of defying despair and death. Love is the only force that counters the cyclical nature of time and death. However, even this love deepens the solitude through the waiting, the separation, and a difficult struggle. Societal solitude. No one writes to the colonel tells the story of an impoverished and forgotten colonel who has been waiting for his rightful pension letter for 15 years. The solitude here is political and societal. It shows the desperate resilience of a man abandoned by the state, condemned to a life of hopelessness. The colonel's hope, or pride, traps him in a socially isolated existence. Márquez uses magical realism as a tool to rewrite the true history of Latin America. His works are the history of the people, the history that textbooks do not tell. The founding, development, and collapse of Macondo represent the abbreviated history of Colombia and Latin America, extending from colonialism to independence, and from civil wars to the exploitation by foreign companies, like the banana companies. Key historical event: the Banana Massacre. The massacre described in 100 Years of Solitude, where thousands of workers were killed. And the military covered up the event by stating, "Nothing happened here, is a real historical event." 1928 Colombia. Márquez amplifies the horror of this event with magical realism. The event is symbolized in Macondo by a rain that lasts for 5 years. This 5-year catastrophe is not merely a natural event, but the concretization of the society's suffering and grief, that is, historical trauma. Márquez thus eternalizes the forgotten sufferings by transforming history into myth. Gabriel García Márquez showed us that time does not just pass, it repeats. Through magical realism, he distilled the spirit, pride, and tragedy of Latin America into a single town, Macondo. His characters were solitary, their fates cyclical. Yet this solitude and cyclical nature offered us the deepest truths of the human spirit. To read Márquez is not just to read a novel, it is to confront our own solitude, our own fate, and the ordinary miracles within life.